So we still have amazing section this afternoon. So it will start with Tomo Tagami-san, Tomo Tagami-san, sorry. The Pheasant network is an optimistic bridge network inspired by the optimistic roll-ups. Tomo-san from Pheasant network will give us a talk about the layer 2 interoperabilities. Okay, so welcome, Tomo-san.
Okay, so hi everyone, and thank you so much to everyone involved in the organizing ETHTaipei. It's a great pleasure to host such a wonderful conference. So let me have a seat for 30 minutes. Okay, so my name is Tomo, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of optimistic bridge called Pheasant Network. Today I will talk about layer 2 interoperability with optimistic bridge. Okay, so before we begin, let me share a problem I had this morning. I came to this venue yesterday, leaving my hotel key in my room. Then I went back to the hotel and asked the front desk for help. Without the key, of course, I couldn't enter the room. And today, I came here again, leaving my key in the room. So I don't want to go back to the hotel today. So what I'm trying to say is that not your keys, not your coins, is our rule, of course. So, but you should leave your hotel key at the front desk. Like do trust, don't verify in the case of the conference. Okay, so anyway, let's start talking. Once again, my name is Tomo, CEO at Pheasant Network. Please follow me on Twitter if you like. Contact me and I follow you back. I have been active in the crypto space for a long time, and actually Pheasant Network is my second project. The first one was the crypto blockchain education platform called POL. POL stands for Proof of Learning. And you can learn about crypto or blockchain, and you can earn POL token. In other words, learn to earn like a play to earn. I launched this project in 2018 and sold it last year. Then I launched Pheasant Network. So I hope no one wants to know more about POL than Pheasant Network, because it's easier to understand educational service than optimistic bridge. So finally, I'm also a co-founder of the Japan DeFi Alliance. My nationality is Japan, but I live in Singapore because Japanese taxation system is too strict for crypto or Web3 startup. Okay, let's get into explaining the Pheasant Network. Today, I will talk about layer 2 interoperability using optimistic bridge. And to do so, it's a shortcut to understand how Pheasant works. Pheasant Network is a bridge specifically designed for layer 2 networks. For example, you can bridge ETH from Ethereum to Scroll or Optimism to Ethereum. I think you will understand better if you actually see the demo than if I explain it in words. So Pheasant is an optimistic bridge. So if the demo doesn't work, please be optimistic. Okay, so what you should look for when viewing the demo is speed and low gas cost and the number of networks supported. So let's go. Okay, just for a moment. Oh, oops. Okay, so this is the front end of Pheasant Network. There are many. Yeah, there are about 10 networks supported at this time. For example, oh my God. Yes, already supported about 10 networks, including Optimism, Mumbai. This is testnet, so Optimism, Mumbai, Arbitrum, Scroll, GK-Sync, Base, Polygon, GK, EVM, Linear. And yeah, and you can be one of the first to try out the hot layer 2 in testnet. And Polygon, Optimism, and Arbitrum are supported as a mainnet. So let's try the bridge between Ethereum and Scroll, for example, here. Noting that fee is very cheap. Yeah, right there. Okay, take a look. His name is Mr. Pheasant. I have his sticker today, so feel free to request me after this session if you want. And notice again the very low gas costs. Maybe you cannot see here, and you will enjoy his unique moves while the transaction is being processed. Please be patient. The network may be a bit congested. Come on. Hey. Okay, it's done. So, and you can see the laser scan. Yeah, so, okay, so do you remember how long it took to process the transaction? Yeah, I guess so, about 20 seconds. Please remember that number, 20 seconds. Okay, be back to the slide. Okay, so let's compare to other bridges, like a hop protocol. The reader in the bridge space charges over $20 in $20 in gas cost to bridge 0.005 ETH with Ethereum and Optimism. Here is a capture of my actual attempt here yesterday. Please remember $12. By comparison, Pheasant allows you to bridge for just $2, $2.09. This is the power of optimistic bridge. This is the actual number on the mainnet. And next is a comparison with other bridges from a speed perspective with the official bridge offered by Optimism. The bridge provided by Optimism states that it can take up to 20 minutes. Yeah, so you can see 20 minutes to bridge 0.005 ETH. In contrast, how many seconds did it take Pheasant in the previous demo? Yeah, that's right, only 2 seconds. 2 seconds, not 20 minutes. This is the power of Pheasant network and optimistic bridge. Yes, so incidentally, Pheasant network was selected for the Ethereum ecosystem support program, stands for ESP, a grant program offered by the Ethereum Foundation. In recognition of these points, super high speed and super low gas cost, this is the optimistic bridge. And Pheasant is the only project in the world to be selected in the layer 2 category among the adapted in the same period, 2022 quarter 3. Yeah. Now that you know the power of the optimistic bridge, let's take a deeper look at layer 2 interoperability. Let's go. So I don't need to reiterate the world is full of blockchains. There are many blockchains, and although a number of layer 1 chains were created between 2022 and 2021, they are in a fragmented state. We need so bridges a deeper layer messaging protocol mechanism to connect them all. We can learn from history, but last year was the first year of the layer 2 network with the optimistic roll-up developing around Arbitrum and Optimism. When this happens, what we need bridges a messaging protocol to connect layer 2 networks. We don't have much time today to talk about messaging protocols such as Cosmos or, okay, just 4 minutes, and layer 0. But the area is also very exciting, and we love to discuss it personally. Okay, so today I will talk about 3 bridge solutions for connecting layer 2 networks. First one, basic bridge. The second, GK bridge. And last one, optimistic bridge. First is the basic bridge, which includes the official bridge, for example, provided by Optimism, as I mentioned earlier, and the current mainstream, multisig bridge. As you know, our multisig bridge is also known as the ban and mint bridge. The official bridge basically supports bridging between Ethereum and its network, so it cannot bridge with other layer 2 networks. So multisig bridges, as you know, are notorious for the frequent occurrence of huge exploits. So the cause of this explained in detail on Pheasant blog or Pheasant docs, but they are mostly human error. The fact that the liquidity pool is managed in one place makes it an easy target for hackers to attack, and the damage can be severe in the event of an outflow of funds. Okay, so next, let's talk about ZK bridge. ZK bridge is a protocol that allows a specific state change that occurs in one network to be proven in the other networks by using ZK snarks. ZK snarks, it's unique in that it allows communication between all networks because it can prove state changes rather than application-specific communication. In other words, although it's called the ZK bridge, it can be applied to messaging protocol between networks as well as bridges. There is a published Berkeley research paper on ZK bridge from which math can be learned here. You can look for ZK bridge trustless cross-chain bridge made practical by Berkeley. Here, 13 pages. This is a performance test table. Go back to the slide. And the conclusion is that practical application is still in the future, but the results of performance tests have been published and briefly presented here by ZK bridge. This table of performance tests in this paper is included. This performance test was not a bridge between layer 2, but rather the more challenging like a Cosmos and Ethereum messaging protocol. So sorry, it may be a little hard to see that, but the performance test was conducted using 32 machines with Intel Xeon Platinum 8295 CPU and 3 gigahertz with 192 gigabytes of RAM, and 32 block headers were tested together. The results were that it took about 2 seconds to generate the GK proof. The size of the proof was 131 bytes, and the gas cost for the verification was 227K gas. It's roughly $7.5 to 7.7 US dollar, calculated at 20 GWA. So my personal impression is that neither the speed nor the gas cost is very effective for using ZK for the bridge, unlike the expected ZK for layer 2, like ZK EVM, ZK rollup, for example, Scroll, Polygon ZK EVM, Starknet, and so on. Okay, so finally, let's let's look at the details of how the optimistic bridge works. When we started the project, we considered whether to adopt the basic bridge or the optimistic bridge or the decay bridge, and we chose the optimistic bridge. The optimistic bridge, as the name suggests, is inspired by the optimistic rollup. The bridge is unique in that it handles transactions in non-optimistic way. So optimistic rollup is unique in that it rolls up multiple transactions into a single transaction and record it to Ethereum. And furthermore, it only verifies if the transaction is fraudulent. So in this way, gas cost can be significantly reduced. In the optimistic bridge, only the optimistic part of the optimistic rollup was adapted and applied to the bridge. So therefore, it's not a rollup. As you can see, this diagram, optimistic bridge implements a mechanism to validate only when there is an irregularity in a bridge transaction. By doing this, the gas cost in the bridge can be significantly reduced. As I showed in the previous comparison with HOP protocol, optimistic bridge only verifies transaction requested by a verifier called like a disputer. This means that the vast majority of transactions are returned to the network without being verified. So this diagram illustrates transaction in validation in optimistic bridge. Transaction is in Ethereum are stored in blocks. This is like a technically block header, and eventually output as this is technically block hash. Since this hashed data, it goes without saying that changing the data will output a different block hash. In other words, the consistency between the information in the block where the bridge transaction is stored and the information in the block hash is verified. As you can see, the information contained in the block is extensive, making the cost of verification high, and with optimistic bridge, and of course, with optimistic rollup, the gas cost can be significantly reduced because the sequence of events is verified only when an irregularity occurs. This is a very simple and secure mechanism because only a block header and block hash are required for transaction in Ethereum, while transaction verification in a bridge between layer 1 and Ethereum is a completely different process. So this is exactly why Pheasant network offers a bridge specifically for layer 2. Okay, so once again, we compare the three bridges together. We can classify the basic bridge as verifying on-chain, and the ZK bridges as verifying off-chain, and the optimistic bridge as not verifying, or more precisely verifying only in case of fraud. What we can see from this is that optimistic bridge is the best in terms of the gas cost. This is because the basic bridge and ZK bridge verify some transactions, while the optimistic bridge doesn't verify them in the first place. So Pheasant chose the optimistic bridge because we felt the low gas cost and transaction speed were important in order to have a smoother bridge between layer 2 network, for example, optimism to Arbitrum or scroll to Starknet and so on. So basically, we believe that the optimistic bridge is superior in every respect compared to the basic bridge. However, compared to ZK bridge, it's inferior in terms of the versatility. So ZK bridge is superior in that you can get verified transactions as soon as possible, whereas the optimistic bridge doesn't verify transaction in the first place. So you cannot get verified transaction with optimistic bridge. And therefore, ZK bridge can handle more use cases at this point. However, ZK is still in the research phase, in my opinion, and there are many things missing from its application to bridge, only to bridge. So I would like to conclude by talking a little about the future. As you know, the marching era gained momentum between 2020 and 2021. As a result, marching bridge gained a lot of attention in 2021. So, but at the same time, huge exploits became a problem, you know. Last year was the first year of the layer 2, as I mentioned earlier, with optimistic rollup gaining momentum around Arbitrum and optimism. So, and this year, ZK rollups are starting their journey. So, as a result, next year should be a heyday for layer 2 bridges. And Pheasant hopes to smooth out the Ethereum ecosystem by connecting many layer 2 networks. What we learn from history then is that bridges are prone to huge exploits. So Vitalik has also pointed this out, right? So, and Pheasant does not maintain liquidity pools in one place, but rather decentralize them over multiple private keys. In other words, this is a decentralized liquidity pool. We will make every effort to ensure that users can move their asset to layer 2 with confidence. Yeah, so the mechanics of optimistic bridge and Pheasant networks are explained in detail in docs and our blog. Please take a look if you like. Thank you very much for your attention. And so let me make a few final announcements. As you all know, next year's DevCon will be held in South Asia. Sorry, Taiwan is not in South Asia, but as we are all from the same Asian country, I hope we can get the event off to a good start together. So we are currently talking about setting up an Ethereum Asia Telegram with members of the Ethereum community, for example, in Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam. So please join us if you like. And finally, please follow Pheasant on Twitter if you follow us and say something. Please feel free to reach out to me and I will give you a Mr. Pheasant sticker. Also, we will be launching an educational service in the near the future where you can learn about layer 2. Stay tuned and follow us Twitter to receive announcements. So thank you again for your attention.
Thanks, Tomo. Do we have any questions? Sorry, that's faster one.
Can you give an example of the fraud proofs that the Pheasant network uses?
Sorry?
Can you give an example of fraud proofs in the Pheasant bridge working for proving fraud?
I cannot hear you.
Pheasant uses optimistic bridging.
Yeah.
So you have a mechanism for submitting a fraud proof, right?
Fraud?
Fraud.
Fraud.
F-R-A-U-D.
What's that? I cannot hear. Okay.
I think his question just how to produce the front proof and verify it.
Do you have an example of a fraud?
Oh, I see. Good question. Yes, thank you for your question. Yeah, so this is a very great question. The 7-day fraud proof, you mean, is an event in the optimistic rollup mechanism. The optimistic bridge doesn't have to wait for, however, Ethereum limits. The optimistic bridge doesn't have to wait for 7 days because Pheasant network is the optimistic bridge is different, completely different optimistic rollup. However, Ethereum limits the number of blocks that can be different when bridging between layers, 256 blocks. So this means that if an irregularity occurs at the optimistic bridge, the irregularity must be noted within around 1 hour, about 1 hour. So we are currently investigating the possibility of increasing this number of blocks. So in conclusion, if you use the Pheasant network or the optimistic bridge, you don't need to wait 7 days.
Hello, it's D General from Risk Finance. So a lot of bridging that I've seen has been from wallet to wallet on different chains, and that's great. And I saw that you had a multi-sig as well, so that's also great. But nowadays, a lot of funds are managed inside protocols. So this could be DAOs, or this could be protocols controlled by other things. I'm really excited about what Vitalik said yesterday in the morning. Layer 2 to layer 2, avoiding going via Ethereum. But something that, for me, interoperability means is to be able to one contract on one L2, controlling other contracts through RPC, remote procedure call, on other chains. So this way, liquidity can be bridged and then also transacted with, controlled with other protocols on other chains without needing for a user with their wallet to go through, because when funds are inside a protocol, they're locked inside that protocol. That's like a core tenet of smart contracts in terms of how they control liquidity. What is the roadmap with regard to having remote procedure calls and controlling bridging through a protocol?